I'm heading out to my goats again because I have a goat that was sick this morning. Our dear Faith. I came out and found her very sick. She was obviously not well. Faith is usually very exuberant and noisy and in the middle of everything, and she wasn't. My first thought is, of course, knowing that she's sick, like, oh no, we're dealing with listeriosis, because I just gone through that with my buck. And I took her temperature, observed her in every way that I could, and decided that it was pneumonia. And pneumonia can be is very dangerous to goats. It's actually, worms and pneumonia are the leading killers in goats, and if you don't act quickly, it can be very, very sad outcome. So I immediately grabbed my medicine cabinet and ran back out to her and got to work. Here's our Faith. So you can see that she is very hunched over. Her tail is down. Her ears look sad. Her eyes even look sad. And she is standing off by herself. So those are the first indications that your goat is sick. So the first thing, when I first noticed that she was acting sick, the next thing I did was took her temperature. That is the next thing. If your goat is sick, you take their temperature, and that will help direct you as well to what is going on inside their body. So I am actually going to take her temperature again. When I found her this morning, it was 97.6. So their normal temperature is 101 to 103, so it was quite drastically lower than it should have been. And that is very alarming and very scary, because it's usually very hard to get their temperature up. If they have a fever, it's not good either, but it's easier to get a fever down than it is to get a lower temperature up. That temperature being up is so relieving, but she is still shivering, and I haven't noticed that she's been drinking, so I have made up some homemade electrolytes for her that I'm going to drench her, and I'm going to basically force her to have her fluids. When a goat is sick, they usually stop eating and drinking, and that obviously is very dangerous. This electrolyte mixture is very easy to make. It is warm water, molasses, salt, and baking soda. And so she probably isn't going to like what I'm doing to her, but that's okay. She needs to have her fluids. It's very important. I'll use a syringe and just syringe it down into her throat. This is a very good sign. She has gone to join the goats to eat, and that makes me so happy, because a sick goat won't eat, so you can tell she's definitely on the mend. Phew, that is so relieving. It smells like I'm making up some molasses cookies out here. So I filled this syringe with some of the drench. I'm straddling her. I'm just gonna put it at the back of her mouth. My hand isn't big enough. There we go. And I'm just slowly putting it in and draining it into her mouth, and she's slowly swallowing it. When I took her temperature and saw that it was so low, I immediately took out Banamine, the penicillin that I had, and thiamine. And those are what I immediately gave her. And by the time I was done milking the other goats, her temperature had actually gone up from 97.6 to 98.1. So it was on the, it was going up at least, and that was relieving. When I got home a couple hours later, I had to leave for church that morning, and I knew that at this point I couldn't do anything else. I went to church, and when I got home, it was 100.1. So it had also from then gone up, and that was again very relieving. At that point, I gave her a much stronger antibiotic called Draxin. My story of Faith and her getting pneumonia ended well, thankfully. But many times it doesn't end well. And I want to finish that story where I left off in my video of that day, the day that I came out and found her sick. That day she did start to eat again. I had given her the Draxxin, and I had done what I could to get her and well. And she started eating that day, and as shown in the video. But that was on a Sunday. And as the week progressed, she was not bouncing back like I wanted her to. She was still somewhat off feed. She would go up to the feeder and nibble, but then go away. And you could tell she was just nibbling here and there and not really eating. She was not drinking like she would normally be drinking. You could tell that she was just not 100%. And throughout the week, I kept watching her. And so throughout the week, I was just supporting her as I could with just the way she was acting, but it wasn't 100%. And in my research of Draxxin, and there are other ones that you can use like Nuflora Gold and other stronger antibiotics that you can use in these instances. And in this case, I chose Draxxin. And my vet told me that Draxxin is a antibiotic that is very strong. It actually, the effects of it, like penicillin, you have to give over and over and over again because it's not as strong and it doesn't last as long. But with goats, they have a very high metabolism. Actually, out of all of the ruminant animals, theirs is the fastest, or one of the fastest anyway. It's very fast. And so with Draxxin, you can and maybe should give as many as one a day for 5 days. And so as I was researching and just watching her and noticing that she wasn't bouncing out of this as quickly as I would have liked, by that end of that week, I believe it was a Friday, I went in and I got 5 shots of Draxxin. And I gave her one shot, one of these, it's 1 cc. I gave her one shot a day for 2 days. And that is what it took to get her back to her spunky, loving life self. And so that just shows how you have to continually be watching. It may seem like, yay, the cloud has dispersed and gone away and all the problems have gone away. But if I had left her just like that and not continued to watch and see how she was acting and not continued to give her that supportive therapy and just help through this, and then given her more of the antibiotics, I think she would have continued to struggle. And so that then brought her out of it completely. But you got to know that antibiotics are very taxing on anyone, on humans and animals. We need to be using antibiotics the least amount as possible because it does ruin the wonderful, beautiful gut flora in our goats and in ourselves. And so when we do take antibiotics, we really need to be giving probiotics. And so I then, for that next week after that, was giving her some probiotics to just replenish what those antibiotics would have killed, because antibiotics kind of kill everything. They just go through and wipe it all out. But of course, if you don't replenish the good stuff, that just leaves them open to more disease and sickness. So you need to get their guts back and working properly again. And so thankfully, she is completely better and was able to bounce out of that bout of pneumonia very well. Pneumonia can kill goats very quickly. It usually happens when you have temperatures that are very warm in the day and then very cold at night. And that just so happens that is what Montana is. We have very wide swings in temperature. And also we've been very humid, and as you can tell, we've just had a pretty good snowstorm, and it's just been cold, very cold, low digits, and the humidity has been high, and we've had lots of snow. So all of that combination can really put your goats at risk. In fact, you could have a healthy goat. You go out to feed them, you feed them at night, they all look good and healthy, and by morning they can be dead. It can be very, very quick acting, they will have a spike in temperature, and then it'll immediately go down to a very, very low temperature. And when it's low, their lungs are filling up with fluid, and they'll usually be standing because it hurts. The lungs are filling up, so they're not going to be laying down. And then if you do find them laying down at this point, it will be very, very, very hard to get them well. And you'll have to act quickly with the right ingredients, and you'll have to just act immediately because of how fast acting this is. So you as a goat owner want to always be ready and be able to act quickly to be able to help your goats just immediately. Goats need a place that they can get out of the rain, the wind, and the snow. So they need a shelter of some sort. They need to be able to lay down in nice warm straw, and you always want to have goats together, so you won't ever have a single goat that's by itself, so they can all snuggle up together and use their body heat. And you want to have the proper tools in your medicine toolkit. I have toyed in the past with giving the vaccine, the pneumonia vaccine, and I don't know, I don't like to give unnecessary shots, but I also don't like the worry of my goats. You know, my goats are, I feel like, in a very healthy place. Their coats are good, they have continual access to mineral, they're given very good hay, and you know, I really feel like they're in good shape. But to come out to this is very scary and very alarming, and I don't want to have to worry about that every morning for 9 months when we are in the winter months in Montana. So I think I probably will end up giving the pneumonia vaccine and just do that every year. I will link dosages for what you need to give to a goat when they do have pneumonia, and so that if you are in a scary situation and your goat does have pneumonia, you'll be able to quickly get to work and act immediately and be able to help them. So if you are dealing with a sick goat right now, if they have pneumonia right now, take a deep breath. It is possible to give them a full recovery if you act quickly. My goat, Faith here, just this morning had a temperature of a 97.6, and that was alarming and scary. But now this evening she is back to eating, and I think we have alleviated a huge crisis, and that is so relieving. I encourage you to click the link above, and you can actually see how Faith is doing today. With the proper tools, with the proper knowledge, you can help your goats through sickness. So although you don't want to continually be using antibiotics, you do need to have them on hand, or at least readily available, because of course with Faith it happened on a Sunday and I wasn't prepared with a strong antibiotic. Be prepared. That is the bottom line, is to be prepared.